You've been told that saturated fats are highly inflammatory, the root of all evil when it comes to your health and heart disease, right? And I bet you've seen all those YouTube videos like saturated fat dangers and what your doctor won't tell you about saturated fat. But hold on a second, because the truth about saturated fats and inflammation is way more complicated than you might think. So let's start with the basics. Saturated fats are a type of fat found in foods like meat, dairy, and other plant-based sources like coconut oil. They've gotten a bad reputation over the years for supposedly contributing to heart disease and inflammation. But recent research is starting to paint a different picture. You see, it turns out that saturated fats alone aren't the problem. In fact, a growing body of evidence suggests that when consumed as part of a whole food, low-carbohydrate diet, saturated fats will not have the inflammatory effects we once thought they did. Take the study by Forsyth 2008, for example. They found that a diet high in saturated fats but low in carbohydrates actually led to a decrease in inflammatory markers compared to a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet. And they're not the only ones. Another study by Venom 2017 found similar results with a high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet having no negative impact on inflammation. So what gives? Well, it seems that the real culprit when it comes to inflammation may not be the saturated fats themselves, but rather the combination of saturated fats with refined simple carbohydrates and processed seed oils. See, when you eat these foods together, it can actually trigger an inflammatory response in your body that can lead to all sorts of health problems down the line. And this study was published in Giacomo Sosa in 2014. But when you eat saturated fats as part of a whole food nutrient-dense diet, it's a different story. For example, let's say you're chewing down on some grass-fed steak with a side of organic broccoli and avocado. In this case, the saturated fats in the steak are being consumed alongside plenty of fiber, antioxidant, and other anti-inflammatory compounds. This can actually help to balance out any potential inflammatory effects of the saturated fats themselves. Another great example, picture this. You're at the grocery store staring at two options for steak. On one hand, you've got a cheap commercially raised cut of beef from a factory farm, and this cow was likely fed a diet of genetically modified grains and soy, pumped full of growth hormones and antibiotics, and raised in crowded, unsanitary conditions. Now, as a result, the saturated fat in this steak may be loaded with toxic residues and pro-inflammatory compounds. Now imagine biting into that steak. As you chew, you're not just getting a mouthful of saturated fat, you're also ingesting all those harmful additives and contaminants that the cow was exposed to throughout its life. So when these toxins make their way into your body, they can actually trigger an inflammatory response that puts stress on your immune system and increases your risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and even cancer. So on the other hand, let's say you opt for a grass-fed, pasture-raised steak from a local farm. Now this cow was allowed to roam freely in open fields, munching on its natural diet of grass and forage. As a result, the saturated fat in this steak is likely to be much higher in beneficial nutrients like CLA and omega-3 fatty acids, which have anti-inflammatory properties. When you eat this grass-fed steak, you're not just getting a dose of healthy saturated fats, you're also getting a whole host of other nutrients that can actually support your overall health and well-being. Plus, you can actually feel good knowing that you're supporting a more sustainable and humane system of agriculture. Now, of course, this is just one example, but it illustrates a broader point that not all saturated fats are created equal. When you choose high quality, minimally processed sources of saturated fats like grass-fed meats, organic dairy, and virgin coconut oil, you're getting a whole package of nutrients that can actually support your health and reduce inflammation in the body. But of course, when you opt for poor quality, heavily processed sources of saturated fats like fast food burgers, factory farmed meats, and packaged snacks, you're getting a lot more than just saturated fats. You're also getting a hefty dose of inflammatory toxins and additives that can actually wreak havoc on your health over time. So the next time you're faced with a choice between commercially raised and grass-fed meats, think about the bigger picture by choosing high quality whole food sources of saturated fat. You're not just making a decision about what to eat, you're making a decision to support your health, your community, and the planet as a whole. On the other hand as well, if you're scarfing down a fast food burger on a refined wheat bun with a side of french fries cooked in processed vegetable oil, you're actually getting a double whammy of inflammatory ingredients. The saturated fat in the burger are being consumed alongside a bunch of refined carbs and pro-inflammatory oils, which can cause issues for your health. But the complexity of the saturated fat debate doesn't stop here. There are also different types of saturated fats to consider. For example, some studies have suggested that certain types of saturated fats, like those found in coconut oil, do actually have anti-inflammatory effects in the body. And study was done in 2010 by INAF. And let's not forget about the role of individual differences and genetics. Some people may be more sensitive to saturated fats than others, depending on factors like family history with low levels of pancreatic enzymes and possibly genetic predisposition, which is less than a single percentage. So what's a health conscious person to do? Well, the key is to focus on the overall quality and balance of your diet, rather than getting caught up in the demonizing or glorifying any one particular nutrient. Instead of getting caught up in the saturated fat debate, focus on filling your plate with a rainbow of whole nutrient-dense foods. Think grass-fed meats like sirloin steak or lamb chops, wild-caught salmon packed with omega-3s, and a colorful array of seasonal fruits and veggies bursting with antioxidants and fibers. And when you do include saturated fats in your diet, be picky about your sources. Do opt for high quality, minimally processed options like grass-fed butter, organic full-fat yogurt, and virgin coconut oil. These whole food sources of saturated fat come packed with nutrients and beneficial compounds that you won't find in ultra-processed junk foods. So rather than stressing about cutting out saturated fats completely, focus on optimizing the quality of your food you eat. Choose whole, real foods that make you feel your best, and enjoy saturated fats as part of a balanced, nutrient-dense diet. Your taste buds and your body will thank you. But diet is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to inflammation and overall health. Lifestyle factors like exercise, stress management, and sleep also play a huge role. In fact, some studies have suggested that regular exercise can actually help to counteract the inflammatory effects of a high-fat diet. A study was done in 2003 by Starkey. So, if you're looking to keep inflammation at bay and optimize your health, focus on the big picture. Eat a balanced diet full of whole, nutrient-dense foods, move your body regularly, manage your stress levels, and prioritize quality sleep. And don't get too caught up in the latest sensational headlines or YouTube videos about saturated fats and inflammation. At the end of the day, the science of nutrition is complex and ever evolving. What we thought we knew about saturated fats and inflammation 20 years ago may not hold true today, and what we think we know today may not hold true 10 or even 20 years from now. So the best thing you can do is to stay curious, stay critical, and stay open-minded. Keep learning, keep experimenting, and keep paying attention to how different foods and lifestyle factors make you feel. And if you're ever in doubt, don't be afraid to seek out the guidance of a qualified healthcare professional or possibly a clinical nutritionist. As always, this is Maurice signing off. Remember, your health is in your hands, so keep questioning, keep learning, and keep striving for balance and vitality in all aspects of your life. Cheers.